I separated from my husband, started to see a new guy who then threw a fake engagement party for us without proposing to me and then told my husband. I had been separated from my husband for 6 months when I met Joe, and we started to date knowing that I wasn't formally divorced but that I was pursuing legal action based on my husband's alcoholism. I told Joe at the time that I needed to take things slowly, not because I was noncommittal but because I was coming out of a 10-year marriage and simultaneously healing from the emotional and psychological trauma that came with it. Looking back now to when I met Joe, I wish I had drawn a line in the sand before it all got so out of hand. For the first 4 months, Joe and I had a wonderful honeymoon period and it was what I needed after so much heartache. However, the more comfortable he became, the more intense he started to act towards me. He would text me all the time, call me to make sure I got home, and he'd visit every other day. I felt like he was trying to covertly control my actions because why else would he check in so often? My friends told me that he was being thoughtful. Joe argued the same thing and took my aversion very personally. I told him that I needed him to dial back the intensity and give me a little more space, but that only made him panic, which resulted in him ignoring my requests. He even got a key cut and began to let himself into my house when I was at work or away. At first, I didn't know how often he was letting himself in. It wasn't until my neighbor asked me if my boyfriend had moved in that I suspected bad behavior. Last Thursday I came home from work and he was sitting watching TV in my living room. Firstly, I was terrified because I had no idea he was there, and secondly, when I walked in he said, "Hi honey, how was your day?" So casual and way too familiar. I politely made excuses as to why I needed the night to myself. He was very suspicious of me and I felt unnerved by the way he was looking at me. I think I started a survival strategy and chose to befriend rather than fight him because I believed that he was unwell. I was very loving and gently led him out of the house, locked the door and called the emergency locksmith. Within 12 hours I had new locks, and within 24 hours, a stream of angry voicemails and messages asking me why I changed the locks and how it made Joe feel. By this stage I was looking for a way out of this relationship in addition to chasing my divorce. I just wanted to be free of toxic men. This was about 6 months into dating Joe and we were not formally boyfriend and girlfriend. Last Friday he asked if we could have dinner to talk things over because he realized his mistakes. Secretly I saw this as an opportunity to end things, so I agreed to the dinner and texted my friend Sarah about the situation so she knew in case anything happened. I should have known better than to believe Joe. I walked through the door to a loud, celebratory welcome. Surprise. Looking around my kitchen, I saw all my friends, colleagues and immediate family standing with drinks in hand, balloons all over the floor and my favorite music playing. Joe sidled up to me.
Surprise baby, we all wanted to get together to celebrate you.
Stiff as a board I whispered to Joe, "What the F are you talking about?" That's when Tim ran over and hugged me.
I can't believe you two are engaged. This is fantastic news.
I felt the room begin to spin. Engaged? He never asked to marry me. One by one, members of the party congratulated us both. Joe played the role to perfection and even had a ring in his hand. My dad asked why I wasn't wearing it and Joe said that he was having it resized and tried to hand it to me, but I ignored the gesture. All eyes were on me, and in my anxious state, I plastered on a smile because I had no idea what to do. My mom looked concerned and steely-eyed as she watched Joe perform. She asked if I was okay and I shook my head, maintaining a large smile as people staggered past me. I looked around. Sarah wasn't there, so I asked Joe why he hadn't invited my best friend and he said that she was busy. To that I said, too busy for her best friend's fake engagement party? Really? Joe stared at me and said,
"You can be so hurtful sometimes, but I love you anyway."
I felt sick. We had never said those things before and now was not the time, nor did I feel that way. I called Sarah and she came over immediately, furious at being left out and worried about me. She marched in. "Joe, where was my invite and since when were you two engaged? She's not even divorced." I stood next to her, equally defiant as people started to awkwardly leave. Joe turned on the waterworks and accused me of cheating on him with my husband, which was way out of left field. In the morning, while I stepped over pieces of cake, streamers and confetti, I received a phone call from my husband's lawyer who informed me that his client had requested that he serve me the divorce papers expressly due to my indiscretions. I asked what he meant and the lawyer said, "On account of your affair with Joe Daniels." Affair? I questioned, puzzled as I never had an affair and that my husband knew I was dating someone, just like I knew he was dating his therapist. Joe told my husband that we had started sleeping together before the separation. My husband then saw an opportunity to fast-track the divorce on the grounds of infidelity. Don't you just love it when boys work so well together? I am happy to be getting the divorce but truly disgusted by the injustice and lies being spun about me. Joe was right. He did have a surprise for me and now I have applied for a restraining order, so I guess he isn't the only one with a trick up their sleeve.